Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where two rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I am Shano.
I am the Chameleon.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. Chameleon, it's brilliant that you're with us yet again on another episode of Carpool Rugby League. Listeners, thanks for allowing us into your radio or earphones, phone, however you listen to us. So let's go through some of the results from last week and then we'll kick Origin. We'll do the results first and then a bit of a ladder, then we'll talk about Origin because it would be remiss of us not to talk about that. Well, on Friday night, sorry, I jumped the gun there. On Friday night, saw the Warriors beat the Tigers 32 points to 6. On Saturday, the Sharks, in the Battle of the Ocean, as we called it last week, the Sharks 66 beat the Dolphins 0. Raiders 40 sunk the Dogs in more ways than one, 16 on Saturday. Roosters 28, Eels 12. On Sunday, Rabbitohs 26 over the Knights 24. I was at that game. It was there's times where you go to games and you go, that was a good game. The atmosphere and everything about that, and party hats and everything for Gyro's birthday. It was good fun. I was watching this one on the train on the way home. The Cowboys 19, Seagulls 18. And then when I got home, I watched the Storm beat the Titans 22 points to 18. It was it was a bit closer than what it was actually very close. So out on top, of course, we've got the Penrith Panthers on 13 wins. Warriors are second on 28. Roosters third on 28. They're level wins, by the way. That's 11 wins, 5 losses. Sharks, they are fourth with a very healthy differential now on 26. Knights are 26. Rabbitohs 24 in 6th spot. Dolphins have dove a little bit. They're below South Sydney due to differential on 24. However, they got more wins, so when it all pans out. Cowboys 24, Seagulls 22. Weren't they the big losers of the weekend? They really fell. They're out of the 8 now. Storm 20, Bulldogs 20, Raiders 18, Tigers 18, Broncos 16. Eels 16, the Titans they are 16th with 14 points, and the Dragons, they have 10 points. And they are on 17th. They're on their own. But it was game 3 of, actually, unless it was the Origin that caught your eye, Griff. What caught your eye this week?
Well, obviously that did, but we'll talk about that separately shortly. I'm going for an individual performance this week. A lot of last week's games, I just saw the mini, and this one was one of those games. And I didn't know the score beforehand. And the score that I knew for the Dolphins stayed the same for after 80 minutes. But the Sharks put on 66 points and the second biggest win of the year.
Hell of a game.
And out of that game, and I was watching the mini, but and it's so obviously a condensed version, but every time you sort of look it up, Nico Hines was doing something that put points on for the Sharks, whether he was scoring a try, setting up a try, or converting. I don't know about fantasy, but I'm just looking at that. He's got 107. Apparently, that's pretty good.
That's very good. Anything over 100 is brilliant.
Okay, so, he one line break, 3 line break assists, 3 try assists. I think he scored a couple himself.
I think from memory,
tries,
30 points. 30 points.
Yeah.
Like if the Dolphins have scored 30, you would be cheering. Like he got 30 on his own.
Yeah, 11 from 11. Kicked them. They weren't all in front either. There were a number of them out wide. 30 points. Nico, he he came to the club as a marquee signing, and he's put in some good performances, but he's also put in some not so good. He has copped a bit of criticism over the last couple of years, not living up to, I guess, the hype that he didn't ask for himself, but being a marquee player, it sort of goes with that. But yeah, I thought he was very good last week. And, a few other, an honourable mention to Daniel Tupou in his 300th game, going over for 3 tries, 1 for every 100 games.
It's always
and he's either second or third he'll be third on the all-time list, I think, now, behind Alex Johnston and Ken Irvine, and heading towards 200. So this is his last year, apparently. It'd be great if he could surpass the 200 if he hasn't already done so. I haven't looked at an updated list there, but good luck. Not good luck. Congratulations to Daniel Tupou.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about the real thing that grabbed the eyes of about 8 million people.
Look, I just want to add, I was watching the game. Nico Hines, the traffic that went at him on the weekend, he just kept making tackle after tackle. I think he might have missed 3, but with the traffic that came at him, he made a bucket load. That on top of 83 metres, he was not afraid to run the ball. It was a brilliant performance by Nico Hines, and it catapulted the Sharks into getting those 66 points. Well, at Suncorp, it was game 3, and I'm going to say it now, it was the Nathan Cleary show. The New South Wales Blues won 30 points to 12. Griffo, everything we did. I've got a mate of mine that listened to the podcast, and he wants to know if Laurie Daly was listening to us, because basically everything we said came to fruition. Cleary's got to get clean ball. He's got to get ball up over the 40. The forwards have to rip in and do the job. He's got to do the right interchanges. He can't mess around with that. And you know what? You can kick a guy when he's down only if you give him the accolade when he does well. And I thought the players were brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It was a team effort, and Nathan Cleary showed why he's one of, if not the best of the game. But I just thought every person, including the coach, got it right for the Blues on Wednesday night, Griffo. It would probably be the real great. Go on, talk about it. I love listening.
Well, yeah. We did say a few things last week, and sometimes we get stuff right. Mostly we're wrong, but that's okay. But what we did both acknowledge was that at the time it was 1-1, even though we'd been pretty much rubbish for most of the 160 minutes that had preceded that game. Not all of it, because we got over the line in the first game, and that was crucial.
Yeah.
Because that meant that we could still go up there and win. And I say we because we're blue here. We don't apologise for it.
No.
And we looked at the team list, and as I said, if you hadn't seen the previous 2 games and you just looked at those two lists, there's no reason why we couldn't win. I think what we've seen in the last few years is that home ground advantage isn't what it once was.
No.
The Maroons did not win a game at, originally Stadium Australia. Went through a few name changes. I was going to every game back at that time with my father and sometimes some other relatives, and we just would win every game. And it went on for quite a few years. Mind you, there's been some shockers since, and that's the point that I'm making, that just because a game is in Sydney doesn't mean I don't think you've got that much of an advantage like
Griffo,
it used to be.
You know what? We've stood shoulder to shoulder at a lot of games in Sydney, and there's still one I talk about vividly where Jonathan Thurston just ran round the back of everyone, and the ball went to him, and he went through the gap, and we were in the Blues, Blues, and it was just like, oh, we've seen plenty of losses in Sydney, and rightly so. It takes a special team, and I hope, you get a lot of this. If this was turned around and Queensland won, it's the Queensland spirit. You hear about it's something special about Queensland. Yeah. For once, I want the narrative, and it's there to be. New South Wales got the job done. They, as far as the pride in his state, they played out of their skin to do what they did the other night. It wasn't that, it wasn't handed to them on a platter. It wasn't that, it was a foregone conclusion. It wasn't a knock on in front of the line that, limped them over. It was a solid and immense rugby league performance. It was one of those performances you look at and you go, pick most teams on their day in their era. So if you pick every premiership winning club and you pick their best game, the Blues would have given them a run for the money every day of the week, and that's what you want. And I thought it was just, the only word I could come with delight. It was delightful to see. I thought it was so good.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. And the reality is that, and they had 18 players on the night because of the two HIAs. None of those players, you could say, put in a subpar performance. Some of them played obviously their best game of this year, but for some of them, maybe their best Origin game ever. Payne Haas was outstanding in the early part of the game with his go forward. And I thought Fanua Blake, when he came on, just carried on that work. I thought he was fabulous. He'd been criticised, and a lot of people wanted him out of the squad. But yeah, he got more game time. He came in at a better time, and I thought he was really good at keeping that go forward that Payne Haas had done early in the game and late in the game, and that just they had that one really big guy the whole time that was going forward, which they didn't have in the previous game, partially because they didn't have a big guy out there to do it. But so the forwards did their job. Hudson Young, workaholic, great performance.
Yeah.
Liam Martin didn't have the same stats, but he had impact, and he made a difference to the attitude of the team. He made the line break that led to, I think it was Nathan Cleary's second try. And I can't remember who he actually absolutely punished one-on-one. It might have been Cobbo. I might be wrong there, but he cut someone in half there. He made a difference to the attitude of the team. I won't go through every player, but they all did their job. Moses' kicking game was fabulous, and credit to Laurie Daly for coming up with that plan. They just, all the kicks from inside New South Wales half was Mitch Moses. So he basically took on the halfback role in our half. Once they crossed the halfway line, it was the job was Nathan Cleary's to carry on with. And it worked well. Worked really well. Bradman Best again showed why he was picked in the team.
Yeah.
It was not just that try, and it was a big palm off on Kalen Ponga, his club mate. Yeah, we got lucky. I'm not going to hide behind that fact. We got lucky with that try, but we were by far the better team.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Queensland, one of their tries was a lucky try. It was like a pinball. Playing at fullback, Kohler sort of made a little bit of a mess of a ball that he could have done a bit better with. But, yeah, so, yes, we had the rub of the green, I'll say it. But we deserved to win. We're the better team.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Like, they all did their job. It was good to see Ethan Strange get some time on the field towards the end. I did feel for Big Hamoli, who was the only guy in the 19 that didn't get out there.
Yeah.
And that was just because of the injuries in the back line.
Yeah.
And I'd heard Laurie Daly talk about the plan to get Hamoli out there in the game. Obviously, he was going to be, I think, the number 3 sub. But then when Teddy went down, and then I think it was Bostock later in the game.
Yep.
There was, well, they'd used the 4 before Bostock got injured, but there was the necessity to bring Tolutau Kohler into the game as a back. Felt for Big Hamoli, but I'm sure he would have understood what the situation was there. Hopefully he gets his go next year. Great win for the state of New South Wales. These sorts of wins, we don't see them too much. It's normally the other way with the underdog getting up, but we're rarely the underdog, but we use that well. And players, you could see that they genuinely wanted to win that game for their coach.
Like, you know what? Like, people laugh at me with South Sydney sometimes. The way they play, I have the classic catchphrase: they don't want to win. And there's times where I say it tongue in cheek, and there's times where I'm 100% serious. It was like every player, like with 20 minutes to go, the last time I felt this confident about a game of this importance was when South Sydney won the grand final.
Yeah.
It was just like there is no inkling of this side wrinkling. It was a bit like, I remember one of the Penrith grand finals was like that. The Storm? Hang on. What was the last one they won?
The last one was against the Storm, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Storm one, where you just went, regardless of what the Storm do, there was no inkling that this side was going to crumble. Like, and it was just, it just felt like, for the Blues, it was like, as long as, when this happens, it's quite easy to discuss or to talk about. When every player on the team do their job, that's what a team does. A good team, and you've seen it. You follow Penrith. That's been their bread and butter for the last few years. When every member of the team does their job, it's just like clockwork. It's like watching a Swiss clock in action. Everyone just does their thing. Everyone compliments each other. Everyone, it's amazing to watch. I was watching Bradman Best, and I was thinking this guy's going to tear South Sydney apart on the weekend, and he didn't play. He didn't play. That's, I can say thankfully for us, but probably that it was at Newcastle's detriment, and fair call. But yeah, it was just this. every player on that team, and I think I say this fairly, played an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game. No one had an absolute shocker where you went, geez, that was the chink in the armour. Thank God, thank God they got injured, or thank God they got hooked. Every player did their job. And, people talk about mistakes in Origin. Okay, the games, I couldn't imagine. It'd be like going to your job and being asked to do 2.5 times what you normally do in the same amount of time. Like, it's just, everyone says it's so much quicker. It's so much more intense. It's so much more nuts. And for New South Wales to do what they did out of the game 2, because they got hammered in the press. And I'll put my hand up. I made my thoughts very clear, because I thought, geez, the team playing like that was not going to win game 3.
Oh, it was a rifle.
Yeah.
Can't sugarcoat something.
No, no, that was. But geez, that game 3. That's. I know New South Wales have won the game, and that's one for the history books. For New South Welshmen, or Welsh people, sorry, out there who love the Blues and love football, that's a game that's on your playlist when you're, when it's a Tuesday night, you're bored, there's nothing to do, you're not quite feeling like you want to go to bed yet, you throw that game on and just go, remember how good this was.
Yeah. See, the thing is, Shane, no one's going to remember the Melbourne game.
No.
No. When you win a series, all you remember is you won the series, and particularly, as a decider, as this one had, you won the decider, and anything that happened before that is pretty much forgotten.
Yeah.
It was. Look, I'm not going to hide behind the fact that a few years ago, when Maguire left, and they said Laurie's going to be our coach, I had a lot of hesitation. I thought, oh no, you're kidding, really? I
was the same.
Yeah, and we've said it many times.
Look, we have said it.
Great bloke.
Great player, great bloke. But we also, another thing we've said many times when we in our table tennis era was history shows.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm glad he has changed the historical narrative.
Well, that's it. People will remember his last series win, and that's why I think he should ride off into the sunset. Because it ain't going to get any better than that.
No.
And I'm pretty sure he's done from because he went out with all guns blazing, and rightly so. He gave it to those. He didn't mention names, but those that had given it to him. And there was some journalists from north of the border. I think Peter Bedell and Travis Main, who broke a story about the New South Wales team falling asleep with his pre-match address. He put him to sleep. Well, he can confidently say now that he put to sleep Bedell and Main in a different way. There was significant criticism from that flop on 360. His brother is the boss of 360 of the network, I think, so he has a job. He keeps coming up on my Facebook feed. He's always bagging the Blues. He particularly likes to bag Nathan Cleary. I think his name is Paul Crawley. He got made to look like a bit of a fool with his comments. Brent Reed was another one who was in the firing line.
And you know what?
He's a Queenslander, so
they're what I call the 50-50 journalists. Like they'll throw a comment out there, and they're either made to be right or wrong. And if they're right, they go on about how much of a hero they are. And when they're wrong, oh well, you just get it wrong on the night. That's what it's
I'm not going to say sorry. Look, to be fair to them in a way, that is their job. Their job is to create controversy, to get people to tune in. I don't watch the show, but I see the quotes. You see snippets come up on feeds and whatnot. And then it's clickbait. And that's how they make...
That's how they make their money.
That's how... Yeah. So if they were to put people on their shows that were nice all the time, that doesn't get the clicks happening. So I do understand. I just find it irritating that, they just continue to throw mud. And some of those guys on that show who are no longer there used to do it a lot. And I remember I think it was Paul Kent. He got into Luai when Luai was a bit more, I guess, or was a lot younger. And he accused Luai of kicking someone in a game. I can't remember I think he was playing with Penrith. And they were going on about it. And then the guy who was accused of being kicked said, no, he didn't kick me. And then footage was found that his foot was nowhere near the guy, but they got so many clicks, blah, blah, blah. They don't, that's just one example. The COVID thing with Cleary and the dancing with the chicks, they had that story running for about 4 weeks. They'd keep bringing it back. And again, that's what a media organization does. It just annoys me.
Oh, mate, tell me about it.
And it's
every time a player does something, anyone that's done something wrong, if they've had anything to do with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, it's South Sydney legend. It's like the guy played 3 games and was on the wing. And Parramatta, they get shafted sometimes too.
Oh, they're getting hammered a lot.
They get hammered a lot, and it's just like you just go, guys, come on. I'm at the point. And just on that, I was actually thinking about this a few weeks ago. I would love for someone like Peter V'landys to come out and say, if you're accusing a player of something, use the player's name and not the club. Because what you're doing is you're not hassling the club, you're actually hassling the player. And if you're trying to dehumanize it by saying it's part of a club, then don't use it. If it's clickbait, call it for what it is, call the player, and if you're wrong, and if you found that you're in some ways if in some ways you're open to some, because a lot of these players, they go Panthers legend because they just don't want to be in any legal implication.
Yeah.
No, mate.
Right.
Start calling it out.
That's how they are. I mean, again, it irks me, but you take a step back and say they're just doing this for the reaction. But yeah, you support your team, you support your players, your coach, etc. You don't like to see them getting hammered, but that's why it was so good to see Laurie Daly come out and really give it in the post-match.
I love it.
Press
I
conference
thought what he
and
said
afterwards.
You know what?
He kept going with it the next day.
He could have named and just shamed and given fingers, and you would have gone fair call. Because he's done something. A lot of the people who the week before, and no, we set out, but there were some people that absolutely laid the boot in, and he could have said, "How many of you have won an Origin series?" Well, I have. Now shut up. I told you to, like he said, just believe in me. I'll work it out. And good on him. I really,
Yeah, look, absolutely good on
and
him.
and I know you had buddy Gus go on about. No one remembers him as a player. That's half the problem. We all remember Laurie Daly as a player. He's a Blues legend. Don't get us wrong. The thing is, as this is Origin. This is two teams. It's win or lose. And if you're winning, it's great. If you're losing, it's not. And you've got to remember, we're also a bunch of fans that went through this for 9 years and then had a flash in the pan, a couple more, then another flash in the pan, and we had to wait again. Winning means so much. And it's not so much criticism as sometimes as a Blues fan it's frustration. And you know what? I'm glad that the thing Maguire got was the Blues fans were frustrated. He used to talk about it, and I just think that the other day Daly was able to channel something about that and give it to the players. We won. That's all that matters. But it was a brilliant game. I thought that in both attack and defence, New South Wales dominated. I thought exactly what we needed our forward pack to do for Cleary was to give him space. I thought Cleary was brilliant. I thought Moses had a cracking game too. Everyone on that field just ripped in, and I was talking to someone during the week going, will this silence the Cleary naysayers or whatnot? I said, well, it should, but
it won't. No, it hasn't. But
the thing is,
but a lot of them it has.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's. I get frustrated when someone talks about someone not turning up in Origin and turning up for their club, because the club know what to do week in, week out. Origin is such a different beast, and the blueprint for Cleary is simple. You give him a forward pack that can get you in the 40 metres out, good possession, he does the rest. And you know what? That's no disrespect, because that's what Andrew Johns used to do, and he's an immortal. That's that's what Alfie Langer used to do. That's what Wally Lewis used to do. These guys, you can't, and I think I said it last week, you can't stand on your 20, pass it to them and go, well, go on, do something. It doesn't work like that. And I think that unfairly people go, well, this silenced the naysayers. This is not about silencing the naysayers. It's about saying he's a guy who was the player of the series, player of the match. He's now equal top point scorer for Origin, Blues. I don't know what more I could ask of a guy. Like, okay, the win-loss ratio may not be where you want it, but there's a lot of players. I take Paul Sirenen. Ciro's in the majority of teams. Like, if you had to pick a side, and back at school you had your two captains, Ciro's there. You're picking, you're picking Ciro. That guy never won a grand final. There comes a point now. I think everyone looks at people like Cameron Smith and goes, oh, you've got to have the perfect career. You've got to have some freaking good people around you to do that. And I dare say there were times in the Blues history when he was playing where the Panthers were better than the Blues. Panthers side up against Blues side, Panthers win. That's the reason. And I think it's such an unfair comparison. And people would. I remember there was a game where Cooper Cronk may not have had the greatest, and people said, "Oh, he never plays like that for Melbourne." And I piped up and I said, "No, he plays exactly like that for Melbourne." Now the problem is the other 12 players on the field don't play like Melbourne. That's the problem. And he's a pivotal player in a team. And the pivotal players in a team need specific things in front of them to do their job. If you're a striker in a football team, you need the ball cleanly in the box, ready to go. Hit. When you're a quarterback, you can't keep digging your team out 10 yards, 3rd and 20. You're not going to do it. You need the people. They rip in when the rest of the team digs deep. When the rest of the team does their job, they can do their job. And I just think whole team performance and what he did was the cherry on top. And I think that's a fair summation of what his game was.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree.
No.
I'm disagree.
Well, we loved watching the game. Any final thoughts on Origin, Griff? It's done for a year. It's going to come around again.
It's going to come around again. Before that happens, there's a World Cup on. So interesting, how much do Origin performances go towards Australian teams? And I don't think.
Can I give you the hot tip?
I don't think they go too much.
Can I give you the hot tip? It's going to make a pinch of difference.
I agree. Because it's so far away from, when the Kangaroos get picked, and again, this whole thing of, I heard an interview with Kevin Walters yesterday, and they're talking about, is Tino going to play for Australia? I'm not sure yet. Is Payne Haas going to come back and play for Australia? Don't think so.
What?
That whole thing. No, he's not.
No.
But
that's right. He's not.
Was a question that was asked. It wasn't Kevin Walters' fault. No. Someone asked him a question. But it just makes me think the whole thing is ridiculous because, and we've talked about. I won't bang on. I'll just say, you should play only for one country. Whatever country that is, that's who you play for. You don't swap jerseys. And I'll make the statement that it does not happen in state of origin.
No.
Harry Grant, his dad is from New South Wales. He doesn't have anything, I want to represent my dad and go and play for the Blues this year. It doesn't happen. It's ridiculous it does in that other competition. I want a great Tonga, Samoa, all of them to be great. But I don't want them flip-flopping. Yeah, you're either this or you're that. And you don't swap jerseys. That's just got to stop. And I'll leave it at that. I'll stop now.
I'll chime in slightly. I said something very controversial on Carpool Rugby League quite a few years ago now. And it generated a little bit of heat. I said that allowing some of these players to play for clubs like Tonga and Samoa, it's like asking kids, it's like asking people to do mathematics, and you set the standard, they've got to learn maths, and then all of a sudden you give them a cheat sheet, and people, I got grilled for that, and my point was, we're not really building the capacity in the teams that we want to build capacity in. What we're actually doing is saying, when a good player is at the end of their career, they might have a crack with you. And I think that, and I was talking more about developing people and teams so that when someone says at 16, yes, I want to play for Samoa, okay, go for it. All right, now work with the Samoan club, work with the Samoan national team, and become a great team. Not we're going to take a couple of players that jump ship, because it not only devalues what you're trying to do as a community to build rugby league in those individual communities, but what it also does is it dilutes the validity of it. And what I meant by a cheat sheet was that Well, all of a sudden, rather than having to try and build capacity in your club, in your national team, you at strategic times in someone's career pull them away from another country, and I just think I just don't get that, and I think we need to tighten down. I think we need to say at 16 you choose,
Yeah.
and the 10-year rules apply, and if you don't want to, if at 25 you have a change of heart, well then that's probably the last time you're going to play international football. That by 16 you've got an inkling who you want to play for and who you feel you need to play for. I just feel that sometimes, and I see it in football, soccer, sorry, where some players want to play for a gun national team when they're younger, and to get the accolades and to get the money and to get the prominence, and then all of a sudden they go, oh well, hang on. And thankfully that's now, back when I was a kid it was quite prevalent. Now it's stamped in, it's sort of nipped in the bud.
Well, I think an example of that, and a good one for Australia, was Christian Valpardo, who grew up in Sydney,
Yep.
went at a young age to play in Italy, and he's obviously of Italian heritage, and wanted to play for Italy. He may have played for a youth team, I'm not sure, but just before this World Cup, made a decision. Italy's not there, Australia is. Yeah. I'm going to go, and I'm glad he did. Don't get me wrong.
But
once you commit,
I'm with you.
You're stuck. When I say stuck, you're not really stuck, because you've said that's who you pledge allegiance to.
You've made a decision.
Yeah, and that's, obviously you've got to qualify for certain countries, whether it's by birth, by heritage, or by residence, from a whatever age it is. But once you've made that decision, that's it. That is your country.
Yeah.
And that's the only international shirt you're going to wear.
Yes.
And that should be the way.
Yeah. No,
I mentioned Michael Jennings has played for 4 countries: Australia, Tonga, Samoa, and Fiji.
Yeah. Like,
now, eligibility says, well, yeah, he's eligible, but that makes a joke of any competition that is about nationality. This is my nation. I'm proud. You can be like we've both got heritages outside this country, which we're proud of.
Yep.
But they're not that either of us were ever good enough to wear a national shirt in any sport. But once you're wearing it, that's it. That's it. You don't flip flop.
You make the decision and you stick to it. And I think
exactly, and that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, I agree. Just before we go into the NRL, I was remiss in talking about Telstra Women's Premiership. On the weekend, round 2, Broncos beat the Sharks 22-16. Tigers beat the Cowboys 30-18. Titans 36 over the Dogs 10. Roosters 12, Knights 10. That was close. That was a good game. Raiders 42, Warriors 16, and Dragons 22, Eels 8. Now the reason why I bring this up is I just want to go through the teams quickly. It's the week of the haves versus the have-nots. Okay, so on Saturday at GIO Stadium, Roosters play Raiders. Roosters will win that by a mile. Warriors on Saturday versus the Cowboys. The Warriors will win that. There's no doubt about that. Sharks versus the Bulldogs on Saturday. I dare say the Sharks will win that. Titans versus the Eels. Titans will win that. Broncos versus the Tigers. Broncos will win that. and the Knights versus the Dragons, the Knights will win that. The distance, even in week-to-week competitions, has gotten bigger. So, some good footy, don't get me wrong. It's going to be Roosters, Broncos, but the team we said last week that seems to be putting their head up and their hand to maybe say, look at me, it's the Knights. Broncos, Raiders, Roosters, Tigers, funnily enough, all on 2 wins. But the Knights, for me, they're the team just there that might do something different. It's starting to take shape, but I really think it's going to take a monumental effort from a team not to. Yeah, it's the Knights. The Knights are okay, but it's Broncos, Roosters still at the moment. We've got some footy on tomorrow night, Griffo, and it involves your team, by the way. On Thursday.
It's true.
On Thursday at 7:50 at Combank Stadium, we see the Penrith Panthers taking on the Brisbane Broncos. Funny little thing. Michael Maguire would not get drawn in on the argument if they lose this week that their season's over. Interesting that. Maybe he didn't want to. I don't know. I thought their season's already over, but that's just me. Look, big ins for Penrith. Not just their origin stars, but we got Casey McLean. He's coming back in. Isaiah Papali'i also named. Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, Nathan Cleary are in for the Broncos at the big list. It's Adam Reynolds, Billy Walters, Ezra Mam, Karapani, Carrigan, Haas, and Reece Walsh. So that's a good-looking Broncos side, but up against an absolutely red-hot Panthers team. For what I think it's worth, can I just say one of the players of the month for me? If we had we used to do this Carpool Rugby League team of the week and team of the month or whatever we used to do. I can't remember now. Dylan Edwards would be my fullback. He has been in scintillating form. He has. I watched him play against South Sydney, and I've watched him play against many other clubs recently. I just think he is in some red-hot form and is playing some great rugby league. Thomas Jenkins just wants to score tries more than anyone else. That's why he does that. Blaze Talangi, Nathan Cleary in at par 5'8", up against Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds. It's going to be interesting to see whether Reece Walsh can be engaged this week. The way they were playing, that forward pack just could not get any traction. That's going to be up to Payne Haas, Jordan Ricky, and Patrick Carrigan to try and get some go forward. Their bench just doesn't look like it's got it for me. I think this is a team that's going to be stuck well in their 40. More often than not in attacking sets, so it's going to be up to Adam Reynolds to kick him out of trouble. I don't think it's going to be enough because they've got, on the opposition's got Isaiah Leota and Lindsay Smith, powerhouses, Papali'i, Liam Martin, and their captain Isaiah Yeo. There is bucket loads of muscle in that forward pack, and there's bucket loads of space out wide. Griffo, far be it from me to tell you about your team. I'm going to let you do the talking, but I've got the Penny Panthers winning this one. What have you got?
Well, I'm going to agree with you firstly. What I will say, I didn't tip Penrith the last time they played, and I was wrong. That was against the Bunnies a couple of weeks ago. I was happily wrong. But looking at these two lineups from 1 to 13, it is close to Penrith's best. I think the only guy missing would be the guy who was re-signed today, and that is Mitch Kenny, the hooker.
Yep.
In the top 13.
And well done to Mitch Kenny, because there was a lot of talk in the last fortnight as to what, I know a lot of different media outlets and a lot of talk around Penrith Panthers fans about Mitch Kenny and what might happen. So good on him. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for Penrith, good for Mitch.
There was a lot of speculation earlier in the year that he was going to join the Chiefs.
Yep.
But that's not happening. As I look at this Broncos team, 1 to 13 only.
Not bad.
It's their best team.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who would displace the guys that they've got out there this week. And we haven't been able to see the Broncos put on their best team for a long, long time. These two teams clashed in round 1 up at Suncorp, and Penrith were pretty emphatic winners that day. I think it was the Sunday afternoon game. I think, well, as we've seen, the Broncos have sort of fallen off a cliff this year, partially due to injuries. They've had a bad run, but also, they haven't exactly been at their best. Maguire I heard part of an interview with him this morning. He was very confident that they could put in a performance that might get him a win. And if you look at it on paper, as I said, that's their best team. It falls away a little bit on the bench, but this team won the comp last year with most of the starting 13 were in that side. In fact, I think all of them were in the squad. A lot of them are coming back from injury, so the likes of Mann, Reynolds, Carrigan, this is their first game back, I think, in a while. Carapani's back from being a naughty boy. Penrith, they're bringing, as you said, they're bringing some pretty heavy artillery in as well, with Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, and Casey McLean, who's been out with injury. Also, Papali'i, Isaiah, missed the Rabbitohs game through concussion. It should be a really good game. I'm expecting Penrith to win. I'll be disappointed if they don't. But if the Broncos are ever going to put up a fight, with this team they've got on paper, they should be able to do it. But I do think Penrith will win this game. Yeah, they've got guys coming back from injury. I always think with Adam Reynolds, is he going to see the game out? And that's not an attack on him personally. No. It's a reality that his body can't do the things that it could 10 years ago. Yeah. And he cops a lot of injuries. At his best, he's still a really, really high-quality player, and could potentially be a match winner for the Broncos. Mann is back from an injury. He's been up and down this year. He certainly hasn't been in tip-top form. But the most important two guys for the Broncos, one is Reece Walsh and the other one is Payne Haas. And Payne Haas was outstanding in State of Origin. He's coming up against some of his New South Wales Blues teammates. Reece Walsh, when he came on, he was very, very good. He worried New South Wales, probably more than anyone had before he entered the field. So they're the two main guys that Penrith have to control. I think they can do it. And, so we haven't seen the likes of Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo playing for the Panthers for a little bit. I think the last game was up at Townsville when the Cowboys were too good. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the return of Casey McLean. And I think Penrith will get the ball wide. They've got plenty of guns to fire out wide with Jenkins, Alamotti, McLean, and To'o, and Edwards getting involved as well. Penrith to win.
Yeah, I think so. I actually think that this is now the point at where you watch teams like Penrith run to the finals. You know, it's it's that building of pressure and building of skills, and it's going to be good to watch. On Friday, 6 o'clock, we see at Ocean Protect Stadium the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks taking on the Newcastle Knights. Brett Nikora in for the Sharks. Everyone else is more or less a bench or stand. Hang on, Stone Street. He's named.
Rocky Road. I think he's extended.
He's extended too. Yep, he sure is. So that's that. Bradman Best in for the Knights, and that's pivotal. I really thought that last week, it was that centre defence that's sort of on either side that shot the Knights in the foot, and that probably the most pivotal point of the game was when both teams kept going wide, but it was Duncan Tallis who slipped past Dane Gagai and put the ball on that really, even with the comeback, that it was that probably that put the nail in the coffin. So Bradman Best back this week is just going to tighten everything up in defence and add a lot more in attack. Look, Fletcher Sharp, Dylan Brown, Tyson Frizzell, rightfully so, makes his way back into the starting lineup. I've actually thought the last couple of weeks they've looked a bit of a different side in the go forward when he comes on. Crossland and Trey Mooney in the starting lineup as well as always. Look, the Cronulla Sharks, they had a cracking game last week, and they're business as usual when you look at it. I'm just trying to see if, yes, Britton Nakora is starting at number 11. He's an in. Led by Nico Hines, the Cronulla Sharks last week just showed this immense amount of attacking pressure that they have not created at all in a couple of years. Like, no disrespect, but if you can play like that every week, well then you're a top 4 team. It's going to be what they do this week. I do think the Sharks game last week took a bit out of their sails. I think the Knights took a bit out of their sails. I think a lot of Knights fans would have thought they would have come to Sydney with the 2 points against South. They didn't get it. And whereas the Sharks not only got 2 points, but a bucket load in their differential. I think Nico Hines needs to back this up, and I think he will. I've got the Sharks winning this one. I just think that back-to-back. But, geez, I tell you, a guy who was electric, who's been electric all year, is Kalen Ponga. And like Nico Hines did to the Dolphins last week, Kalen Ponga could do to the Sharks this week. It's if they can get the ball into this man's hands as quickly as possible and get wide running Bradman Best, I'm looking for. I actually think this is one of the games of the round, if not the game of the round. This is a cracking game. Look at where they are on the table. Look at their form. Look at the players they've got. Look at their run home. This is a pivotal match in the NRL landscape. I've just got the Sharks winning at home. It's a flip a coin for me, and you know how I roll. Griffo, what have you got?
Yeah, my coin rolled the other way.
Yeah, that's okay because I could well change. I was talking myself out of it as we were talking.
I know. You were at the game last week and saw what looked like an outstanding game of footy. I only saw the mini, but
too close for comfort at the end, but it was outstanding.
Yeah, well, Newcastle threw a lot at Souths early in the game and had a number of tries disallowed, rightly so. But what it showed is that they can create.
They love. I was really surprised. Watching it. So we're at the South Sydney scoring end in the first half, and you know at ANZ, whatever it is now, ACORP, the angles are a bit weird, but we sort of sat ourselves down and everything was good. And what I saw was from the third tackle, Newcastle were just happy to go wide and spread it and chance their hand. They're a confident rugby league team.
Yeah.
And led by Kalen Ponga. You guys fullback like Kalen Ponga can do that.
Yeah. They can score from anywhere on the field. In the second half, late in the game, they were down by a long way, but they should have won that game. They created chances. They were finishing them off, and then, I don't know, it was like a minute and something left, and they should have scored in the corner. Ponga, and he did a lot of good things, a lot of good creates, but he threw an awful pass.
Yes.
There was no hope. I think it was Dom Young, the winger, but he had no chance to catch it. Had that ball gone to hand, the 2 points would have been going back to Newcastle, but it didn't, which was great for South Sydney. Newcastle will know that was probably one that got away a little bit. I think the Sharks, well, they were outstanding, obviously. They won 66-0 against the Dolphins, who I do rate highly. More so I rate the nil. To hold that Dolphins team to nothing is quite an achievement. I don't know if they can back that up again. You think they've got a mountain of confidence out of the game. But for Newcastle, they probably think, well, we don't want to lose back-to-back here because we will slide. They want top four, and if they're going to make top four, they probably need to win this game against one of their rivals for one of those spots. They're not going to get past Penrith. They're not going to get past the Roosters. They're not going to get past the Warriors. So it's really, we aren't going to see both of these teams in the top four. But the winner of this game will go a long way towards getting that last vital spot there. I just think Newcastle's attacking arsenal is going to get him across the line. You mentioned Frizzell up front. He's there because of injury, really. Missing Saifiti and also their young, talented Cody Hopwood is also out of this game. So they're a little bit light on for front row of depth in this game. They're also missing McEwen in the second row. So their forward pack, while it looks good, a little bit of it's not as good as it could be. And maybe that's the area where the Sharks can win this game. But I'm still going to stick with Newcastle.
Yep. And that's fair call. And like I said, as I was talking, and I'm still going, I may even talk my way out of it. It's two teams that are just playing some. Like I said, I don't like talking about games of the round, and because sometimes they never live up to the hype. Because we've got one coming afterwards, which is going to be pretty good too. But your Friday night's set if you love rugby league, because the next game at Allianz Stadium in Sydney is the Sydney Roosters taking on the Melbourne Storm. Sam Walker, Nate Butcher, Reece Robson are in. On top of that is Toby Rodwell on an extended bench. You've got for the Storm, Jerome Hughes is out, so sees
and Munster,
Wishart and Talau. They're 6 and 7. That's a big call for those players in this game.
Munster obviously didn't play last week. That's why he's not listed. But
he's
two of the big three.
Two of the big three are gone. Harry Grant is there, but that's big when you look at the state of play and the team they're up against. Very, very, very big. David Moali on the extended bench as well. Wow, Roosters have their what you would say in some ways their full gambit back. Starts off with Sam Walker. Daly Cherry Evans has been a remarkable asset. Mark Nawanta Nikawase, his time in the NRL has been sublime. Daniel Tupou, we talked about him and what he's done. Cody Ramsey in at fullback. It's just note that. I think he's very solid there. I can't see anything too problem.
He was there last week.
Yeah, he was solid. He was there last week. Solid. Reece Robson in a hooker. You got a forward pack that has Nafanu White, Spencer Leniu, Nat Butcher, Saul Wong, and Victor Radley. With Connor Watson coming in off the bench, you can Butcher there as well. It's business as usual. For the Storm, I just think Failongo, solid. Yeah, it's the halves for me, just being able to control the game. I will say this though, if they can get early ball to Nick Meaney, Jack Howarth, they could cause a bit of issues out wide. It's Billy Smith and Savala, not Toya. Robert Toya is one of the best defensive centres in the world. Not having him there, I think going wide early could actually produce some dividends. But that's cheap shots against what is an absolutely brilliant side. And really, it's going to be up to Harry Grant to just push this side around and do what they need to do. I look at this Storm side and I just see a team that's well down on troops, well down on experience, well down on the people they need to beat the classy team that is the Roosters. I've got the Roosters winning this one and maybe even winning it well.
Yeah, I didn't really. I'm only looking at this for the first time now. I didn't know Jerome Hughes was going to be out. I can't give Melbourne too much of a chance in this game without both Hughes and Munster. They got the win last week against the Titans, and I thought there was a lot of similarities to the Souths defeating the Knights, in that the team that got defeated had so many chances that they didn't finish off. And I think while they were able to get away with the Titans last week, the Roosters will be much more clinical and will finish off enough tries to beat the Storm. And as you said, if they put a bit of a score on that wouldn't really surprise. So it's Roosters for me, even though they are missing some key players. Tedesco still out, Collins out, and there was one or two others, but that doesn't equate to what the Storms lost.
No. Can I just say the next game, and we don't advocate betting here, we're not doing that. One team was out by a country mile, and they're now even Stevens, which I find very interesting because it's the Canberra Raiders taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs at GIO Stadium in Canberra. This is Saturday, 3 p.m. I suppose, look, for South Sydney, their ins are Alex Johnson, need to be said more. Cody Walker is always, I said my piece about that guy last week, and I say it every now and then. On top of that, sees basically more on the extended bench, but Bronson Garlick in at number 19. The Tamale, is he? What's he being named as? Because I didn't see him in the. Yep, the Sevilla Tide. He's number 18. Okay, cool. So when you look at the Canberra Raiders, they're pretty much business as usual, and the guy that I think really, this is no pun. I was going to say week in week out, has speed to burn. It's KO weeks. He is just electric. Jed Stewart finds his way into the starting lineup yet again. Xavier Strange on the wing, Matt Timiko and Sasagi in the centres. That's a really good balance for them. Ethan Strange and Ethan Standers, the two Ethans, one with the Colonel. Ethan Strange is the kind of guy post-Origin now who will put his hand up and say, "Look at me, look at me, look at me," because he knows that there's another jersey beyond this, and who knows, he might be picked. Guy as safe as houses, Corey Horsburgh, Joseph Tarpany. Oh, Paddy.
I don't know about that.
Well, safe as houses when it comes to tackling, not an attack.
I mean, he's got the odd brain explosion.
Yeah, that's true. But you know,
penalty or
when things are going normal, you know what it is. Can I say this about Corey Horsburgh? Because I'm actually a bit of a fan. He gets himself the Raiders put themselves in the most stupidest positions where he just it's that. I do feel for Corey. I'm a bit of a fan of Corey Horsburgh. I think in another team and another time, he'd be a different rugby league player. I don't know. I got a soft spot for him.
I'm not saying he's not a good player. I just he can be a liability.
Oh yeah, 100% he can. But I just think there's times, when the chips are down, the stats have said he's been all right. No, the stats have said he's been pretty good. Of late, although what stat? There's no such thing as the clanger stat, is there? I suppose. To be fair,
it's just like he can come up with a penalty where one doesn't need to be given.
True. Very true.
And he's wholehearted. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. No, I think that ball in hand, things go well. Defense, things go well. He just. Yeah, like you say, he just gives away a penalty when it's not required. I was thinking more about his ability to hit the ball up than...
Oh, he does that well.
Yeah, that's what my safest houses was. But yeah, you're right. He can give away a penalty. Hope he gives away 10.
Yes, you'll be looking for that.
Hudson Young.
You'll be disappointed if he doesn't.
Hudson Young. He's going to the game. He's going to the game of a century. You watch. Hudson Young. Again, a guy who can do well. Noel Martin, Zach Hosking, and a bench which I mean this with no disrespect. Tom Starling, Mariota. It feels a bit. Josh Papali'i, of course. Just it doesn't feel as. And maybe this is the positioning on the table. It just doesn't feel as explosive as the Raiders bench once was. Up against the South Sydney side, who have continued to put Matt Duffy in at fullback. 3 tries this last week. While Alex Johnson is back. Tallis Duncan. Can I say this? And my daughter will kill me because she's the world's biggest Tallis Duncan. And she had a selfie with Jack White on the weekend. So Jack White is now in the flavour of the month. Tallis Duncan, great attacking player. When things go well, great defensive player. But geez, when he's asked to make a decision, it can go a bit pear-shaped. So, Tallis Duncan, great game last week. Brilliant in attack, but still finding his feet in centre, I think, defensively. Jack White...
he's not a centre, he's a stopper.
No, he's a second rower. He's a brilliant lock too. But Jack White in the centre. Campbell Graham on the wing, who also I thought had a cracking game. Cody Walker's back. Who knows what's going to happen here. But the guy re-signed for South Sydney, Ashton Ward. Really going from strength to strength this season. Brandon Smith had a good game while on. Keon Kolomatangi. They're going to miss him. David Fafita. Cracking game last week with Tavita Totola as well. Ewan Aiken played well, and the captain, need we say more. Interestingly, Jai Gray named at 14. I think that's fair because for a guy who could and should be in the starting lineup is 14. The guy on the bench for South Sydney, Jamie Humphries, for me, to come on and really play that pivotal role. It's just about South Sydney holding the ball. Look, I'm going to pick South Sydney in this one. You guys know why. But I just think for me, it's about their coach telling them they got more to play for. South Sydney win this week. It's another win in the bag. It's another step close to finals football. Their for and against is going so well. It's in Canberra. Geez, they're rocks and diamonds in Canberra. I've seen some cracking games. I've seen some abysmal ones. I just think when you look at it, there's one team that's playing final or playing to play finals football, and the other team is becoming nuisance factor. I think this is where South Sydney need to gain a bit of rugby league maturity and step up to the plate. I've got the Bunnies in this one, and I think this is actually going to be one of the times where we see a coach's win with the players reflecting what needs to happen on the field. They have to hold the ball and they can't miss any tackles. Griff?
Yeah, South obviously did a lot of good things last week. They're very good in attack, and they bring in their biggest weapon in attack. Well, arguably their biggest in Cody Walker. So he's going to create stuff. And they will score points. I'm quite confident that they will score points with the side. Canberra, I thought they were good last week. Their forwards look stronger than they have for a little while. There's plenty of try-scoring ability in that back line. I think they will score more tries than Souths. I think both teams will score pretty heavily, actually. I just think the Raiders at home, I'm going to tip them. I'm not confident in South Sydney's defence. I'm certainly confident in their attack. No, I just think defensively they can leak points, and I know they've got a really good for and against. So obviously they're doing more than something right. I just think out
this
wide...
This could be 54-52.
Well,
I agree.
I just think out wide the Raiders are going to... and don't get me wrong, they can be fragile as well.
No. And it's... I hear, and I think last week showed that if South Sydney's edge doesn't tighten up, Canberra's the team to expose it. And KO Weeks, well, he did that last time. He just got the ball, ran sideways till he found someone he could run past, and he ran past him. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, 100%.
Yeah, but it could go either way. I think it's going to be a really good game of rugby league. In fact, I think pretty much every game we've gone through so far shapes up.
They're going to be great games.
Hot games this week, and but in Canberra, really the Raiders, they're still clinging on to hopes of making the top 8, and to do that, this is a game they simply have to win. Souths, obviously, they would be aspiring to a top 4 position if possible, and they're going to have just as much incentive to win. I'm just sticking with the home team here.
Yeah, understandably so. And flip a coin, that's what we do. At 5:35 at Go Media Stadium in Auckland, we see the New Zealand Warriors taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. For the Warriors, DWZ, Kurt Capewell, Mitch Barnett are in this team. For the Dragons, it seems like it's all sort of reserve and whatnot. With Clint Gutherson still at fullback, you've got Atkinson and Kyle Flanagan in a halfback, Damien Cook in a hooker, and Ryan Couchman locking the scrum. It's an interesting side because I look at the Dragons and I just don't see go forward or defensive the defensive strength that's required to put pressure on a team like the Warriors, who are absolutely flying at the moment. All their players just seem to be playing really, really good rugby league. They just seem to be getting it together. In saying that, not without fault at times, they can leak points. when they want to, they can defensively be found wanting. Last week they showed none of that. 32 points to 6 over the Tigers. They played an exceptional game of rugby league. I was really impressed by their backline and the way their backline was able to switch back to the forward pack and get that forward pack to just go forward and if not score tries. I just think that they are just a happy rugby league team playing some really, really good rugby league. And if they can get the defensive, I won't say issues because they're not issues, that's not fair. But if they can get their defensive patterns set to the point where they just lock everything up, they can be an exceptional rugby league team. Look, their defence is only second to Penrith, but it's just at times it just looks. It's not so much the fact that they leak points; it's the leaking of meters. That at the back end of the season and moving forward into the finals, that's what you don't want. And I really think that this week in Warriors land, geez, they're going to put a number on. I've got the Warriors winning very well, Griff.
Yeah, I can't see anything other than a Warriors victory here. We're looking at a team who is going to win the wooden spoon up against a team who would still aspire to be minor premiers, but realistically, their main goal, I think, is a top 2 position.
Home, could you imagine week 1 of the finals? They're playing at home.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd want to finish. I don't think I'd want to finish in the top 4.
No,
I'd rather finish 5th. I think I'd rather finish 5th.
Look, they get a lot of support. Obviously, they get support wherever they play.
They're a happy rugby league team, aren't they?
They are, and they're a good rugby league team, and they've exceeded my expectations this year. I had them dropping out of the 8 this year. I was wrong on that. Obviously, they've got amazing depth, and they've only lost 5 games all year. It ain't going to be 6 this week, so it's Warriors. I'm very confident that this will be the result. I haven't seen the rest of the games yet, but I would, if it was the days of picking a special or
margin.
Yeah, this would be
dead cert.
Yeah. And we might be both wrong, but I don't think we will.
I doubt so. Well, on 7:35 Saturday at Accor Stadium sees the Cats and Dogs Cup up against. They got the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs up against the West Tigers. It's like a tapestry of players in. Can I just say that Gordon Chan Kum Tong, he's in for the Bulldogs. He's back. He was a favourite. For the Dogs, I suppose 2 guys that are named on the reserves bench, but very happy to see their names somewhere. It's Vilami Kikau and Stephen Crichton. They're on the reserves. Interesting to see if they get promoted. For the Bronson Sherry, by the way, is out for the Dogs. Can I say Matt Burton still's going to play number 3? He's not going to take part in the halves. It'll be O'Sullivan and Galvin named there. Of course, at kickoff, who knows what's going to happen. Api Coruscant is being named for the West Tigers on an extended bench again. Another extended bench person. Look, these 2 teams at the moment, it's still like you got to wait till an hour before kickoff to see what their teams are going to look like. In saying that, I don't really care because I think the Dogs are going to win this. I just think the Dogs. These are 2 teams at the moment that are sort of down on confidence. They're down on sort of not. they're just down on confidence. They're two teams that, for the Dogs still have that attacking prowess. They put themselves under pressure with drop ball. Tigers are the same. The errors the Tigers make in their own 40 and not just recently in the past 6 to 8 weeks it's just put so much pressure, and I think it's because they're pushing passes. They're asking a lot of people like Tyrell May. They're asking Fainu. They're asking the Fainu brother. They're asking a lot of players to sort of run straight, short balls, hope for the best, trick shots consistently without building pressure. Can I say this? I'm picking the Dogs. I'm just going to leave it there because the Dogs are the home seed. The team that builds pressure, that kicks the corners, and that can control the game will win this. And I think for me, the guy is Matt Burton. Look, I think Matt Burton is going to take the bull by the horns, and he's the show pony that's required to do, and the cool head that's required to win this game for them. I've got the Dogs winning with not real confidence, but winning anyway. Griffo?
Yeah, I want to tip the Tigers, but I don't know. Don't know how.
Nah.
Because I've got respect for the Bulldogs. Because I don't. I think they're an ordinary footy team, but it's just the Tigers. Just with what's been going on in the last week surrounding their marquee signing, who's now leaving the club because the club told him that basically they didn't want him next year. And it's understandable because he made a decision to leave the club. So for the following year, yeah. Go on, mate. Go.
Can I just say on that, I know we haven't talked about it. If you're the Bears, you're on the blower.
They did, but he signed with Parramatta.
I know. What?
I can understand why.
But yeah, I just look at the whole thing that's going around. Yeah, and can I just say, and I know people are thinking, why are we thinking Luai? Why? How many 5'8" do Parramatta need? Like Jonah Pezz's going, I get that. Yeah. But geez, it's not as if... I just look at it and go, well, if you're thinking future, are you getting this guy in to be a mentor for 12 months? Or what's the role here? Anyway, doesn't matter.
No, we'll get to that. But I just don't know the Tigers. I think their race is run. They were very, very good early in the year, and they had pretty much their best side out most times, best on the field, out in the field. But they still did have injuries at that time, but they were able to play some really good rugby league. They're not going to make the 8. The Bulldogs, I think, the level on the ladder. Might be. I'm just checking. Bulldogs are currently on 20 points. West Tigers 18.
Yeah.
That surprises me a little. The Bulldogs have actually got a 7 and 9 because they've been, for most of the season, pretty poor.
Yeah.
I don't think either of these teams will make the 8. But if the Bulldogs are a chance, they have to win this game. I look at their side and it doesn't convince me in any way.
Something that surprised me about the Dogs? Only Dragons have a worse 4 column. Only the Dragons have a worse attacking stat. And you think to yourself,
so their attacking coaches, came from a team that won the Spoon and had the worst attacking.
We've said this. We were broken record in the first 5 weeks, weren't we? And it's like it's come to fruition. The guy, look, what are they? I'll get it up. Hang on. I'm talking hearsay.
Right,
292. 292.
Yeah.
They're 292. The Titans are 297, and the Dragons are 244. They're the second worst attacking team in the competition.
Yeah, they are. Bugger. I'm just going to go for the Tigers. I'm going to go for the upset here. I don't think they're going to win, but if they can produce any of the sort of form that they had earlier in the year,
I like it.
they can. We know that they can score tries. The fact that Sam Walafainu is there, I really rate him highly. I thought he went off in the game last week, looking injured, but maybe I'm wrong. But he's listed there. So with him on the field, if the likes of Buller, Makasini, Taruva, Toto, they can all get across the line. They got skill. They got a bit of pace about them. The question mark is about how Jerome Luai is going to go.
Yeah.
After all that's going on, the way he's still there, they got a reasonably good forward pack. I should be tipping the Bulldogs because that's what my head is saying. But as I said, I'm down in the tipping comps, although I went all right last week. I got 5. I was happy with that.
Done well, Griff.
It's better than my average. So I think I had the Cowboys, which was one that a lot of people didn't have. But I'm going to tip the Tigers.
Good man.
It doesn't matter if they don't win because it's not going to affect my tipping in any comps that I'm in.
Can I just say that the Dogs have the second worst attack? The Tigers have the second worst defense.
Okay, well there you are.
I just 485.
They've copped a few hammerings. Like
they have copped it.
They 68 against Penrith. Was,
Eels. The Eels had 500. The Eels cracked 500 there. Yes, Eels have cracked 500. 500 against for the Eels. That's not great, is it? Anyway.
Well, they got Luai next year. That might fix the problem.
That'll definitely fix everything. That'll make it all well and good again. On Sunday at Seabus Super Stadium at 2:00, it'll be a cracking game up there in Gold Coast. Sees the Gold Coast Titans taking on the Manly Warringah Seagulls. I suppose Ben Trebojevic, Corey Waddell are out for the Seagulls. That sees a few people come in. The Shoop Dog, he's on the bench, extended bench actually. Interesting to see. For the Titans, everything's more or less extended or thereabouts. Yes, that's right. Except for Lockie Ilias, he's 19, which doesn't mean a lot for that team. It's interesting. The Seagulls last week, as you're watching the game, you were just waiting for the Seagulls to do what the Seagulls do at home. And it didn't happen, which was really interesting. Whereas with the Titans, you saw a team that, you sort of think to yourself, geez, what can the Titans do? And against the Storm, they played some pretty good football. They went down, and they went down by 4, but it was still, it was, albeit 3 tries to 4, to be fair. They did have a good showing away from home, and I think that's going to give them a lot of confidence. Big Tino, the man, he's just, he's the guy that leads from the front. It's going to be up to their half and 5'8", Harrison and Campbell, just to really push the side around, get some value out of Fafita and Brimson, and then Keanu Kinney, who's an absolute game changer, just to inject him into the game. On the other side, the other guy that's playing number 1, a bit of a game changer as well, and Tom Trbojevic. Look for them to go wide early. They're going to expose the Titans centre and wing 3 quarters. Jason Saab's going to be the guy that's going to head that. Ruben Garrick and Kohler. I think this is going to be one of those games where teams are going to go wide and keep doing it. Can I just say, I think the guy for me who's going to have a cracking game is Olakau'atu. I just think that this guy, he's going to get the ball in the middle, he's going to lead from the front, and I just think they're going to get far too many metres and give their halfback in Jamal Fogarty and Joey Walsh too much to work with. I think the forward pack's too strong for the Seagulls, so I've got them winning this one, Griff.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think the Sea Eagles here, they have to win. They're out of the 8 now.
Yeah.
I was at a venue watching a band when they were playing the Cowboys, so sort of one eye on the band, one eye on the TV screen, and I left just after Hamoli, I think, might have scored his second try, and they were up, I think, 18-10 with not a lot of time left on the clock. I just assumed that Manly won, and I didn't know till the next day.
Oh, really?
They actually lost, yeah. I came home, I sort of watched the minis of the other games. I didn't even look at this game because I just thought, Manly won. And I don't know whether I saw it on my tipping app or whatever. I saw the score, 19-18. I thought, you're kidding. How did they lose that in a game where both kickers were abysmal? Fogarty had a shocker, but the kicker from the Cowboys, Clifford, was just as bad. And it's not the number of goals they missed; it was where they missed them from. And they were all there were a number there. Both teams will be sort of thinking should never have went to Golden Point. Should have kicked.
Someone asked me what it was like watching him kick goals, and I said it was like there was a massive magnet on the black dot, and there was another one in the ball. As the ball went sailing towards the post, it just skewed ridiculously away. The polarities weren't there.
Well, they got Ruben Garrick out there, who's one of the highest point scorers in Manly's history. After Fogarty was off, because I think he might have been off the week before, but I might be wrong there. But he hasn't been on point.
No, Ruben Garrick
recently,
should be kicking.
And they should say, "Here, Garrick, this is not a gimme, but
should be kicking."
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they do change kicker this week. But to be fair, I do think they're going to be able to win this without having to rely completely on every kick going over, because
that is
this is crucial for the Sea Eagles. They were flying high, say 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they've lost a few games now. I'll give them the fact that in some of those games they were missing Hamoli and also their backline weapon in Toltau Kola. So they were definitely down on attacking ability, but they were there last week. Hamoli did his job. He just the wrecking ball. The kicker couldn't add the extra 2, and it cost them. But the Titans last week, I mentioned them, that they created a lot of opportunities against the Storm. You could build an argument that they should have won that game, but they just couldn't finish. And again, I didn't watch the whole game. It was the mini, but there were a whole heap of tries that they didn't score that probably they should have. So lost opportunities. This, on paper, it must be so frustrating. And I don't know anyone who really is a Titan supporter, but they must be really frustrated to see this team on paper. Individually, there's so much talent there in terms of being able to score tries. I still think the depth isn't there when I look at their side, but they should win more games. They beat the Panthers a few weeks back, or maybe 3 or 4 now, but they can get they beat the Broncos when not expected to. I know the Broncos have lost a lot of games this year, but this team, they don't have a huge amount to play for. They're not going to make the 8. They're not going to win the Spoon because the Dragons won't win enough games. They're going to be in the bottom 4. But Manly, this is crucial, and therefore I think we will see Manly win. Mixed game last week from Turbo. He made a really good break, I think, that led to a try, but then a dreadful defensive effort that saw the opposition. I can't remember who the player was, but one of the Cowboys basically went straight through him, and gee, that's pretty ordinary defense, Turbo. So I don't think he's anywhere near his best, but hopefully he can reproduce his best form. If he does, the Eagles will make the finals. Otherwise, they're very much now on the precipice. This is a must-win, and I think they will.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think that's true. So, 4:05, Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane sees the Redcliffe Dolphins taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Jeez, when you look at the ends here, the hammer in for the Dolphins, Jack Bostock, Selwyn Cobbo, they are three big names that are in for them. Tom Dearden in for the Cowboys. John Bateman is out. Very interesting when you look at these teams. If the Cowboys hadn't done what they'd done last week, you would have gone, I'm picking the Dolphins, let's not talk about it. The guy for me, Scott Drinkwater, just seems to be able to pull something out of nothing at different times within the game. Totally supported by Jackson Purdue, Jake Clifford. Two cracking players in their own right. Reed Marnie, at times he can be in and out of games. And Ruben Cotter locking the scrum, playing some good football. They're playing up against an absolutely cracking team. The Hammer, Jermaine Osako, Jack Bostock, Herbie Farnworth, he's the guy for me. Selwyn Cobbo, Cody Nikorima. It's just Jeremy Marshall King. It's just name after name. Francis Molo playing well. I just think there's too many guns in the Dolphins to fire. I've got the Dolphins winning this one, Griff.
Yeah, I really don't know how this game's going to pan out. Both of them have big weapons in attack. The Dolphins are coming off an absolute hammering. They were, Greenpeace was nearly lining up outside that ground for the killing of dolphins, trying to protect them last week against the Sharks, but I can't believe they're going to be that bad again. But can you bounce back so quickly? In the NRL, it says you can. Dolphins are the home team. They're still without their most important player, and that's why I'm hesitating here. Can they win without Katoa? They've got plenty of guys who can still score the tries. I don't know if they can come back after last week. And the Cowboys, they got the Golden Point win. They came back from, and I thought, as I said, I'd written them off late in the game when Hamoli scored his second try. I think I'm going to stick with them this week. I'm going to stick with the Cowboys. Not confident. If the Dolphins play their best, they should win. But again, that key piece in the Dolphins puzzle is Isaiah Katoa, and he's not there. So I'll go with the Cowboys.
Excellent. Well, that's it. That rounds out the round 20 of the NRL for this week. Of course, the Parramatta Eels have the bye. Griffo, have you got any closing thoughts?
It really is almost every game. I think apart from the Warriors Dragons, every other game I think could go either way. Give some good viewing this week. Big games. That ladder, we know it changes from week to week.
Yep.
And at the moment, the top 8 teams are there, all on points, not differential.
Yep.
So every game is crucial. The big one really is Manly. They have to win. I think the Storm can still make the 8, but I don't see them winning. The Bulldogs, I don't see them making the 8. The Raiders, even though they're below the Bulldogs, I give them a faint chance. Tigers, they're not going to make the 8, and then we go to the Broncos, who are anyone below the Tigers. In fact, anyone below the Raiders, I can't see making up enough wins to gazump the teams that are already on 24. And again, some of those teams dreadful for and against as well. So the Broncos, they're gone 16 points. They'd have to win every game. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Tigers, they're not going to. I think they can afford to drop maybe one. That ain't going to happen. They're going to drop many. The Raiders, to me, they were the minor premiers last year. They could go on a run. I haven't looked at their draw, but they have to beat South Sydney. If they don't win this week, I'm writing them off. And yeah, within a couple of weeks, we could have 14 teams, maybe, or 13 vying for the top 8, or we might just have 8. It just, interesting. That battle for the top 4, we got the Sharks v the Knights. Currently, Sharks are in the top 4 with a better differential, but that 66-0 helped.
Yeah.
But if the Knights flip them this week, they'll swap positions. So it's getting close to the finals. It's not too far away. Lots to be excited about. Thank you, listeners, for again giving us your time. Thank you, Shane, for putting it all together.
Anytime, Griffo. Thank you for being a part of it, everyone. Thank you for allowing us into your listening regime for the last couple of hours. Take care. Good luck. Hope your football team wins, unless they go for Canberra, in which case I don't. But outside of that, have a great week, listeners, and see you next week.
Bye-bye.